welcome everyone to a session here of the Illinois Work-Based Learning Innovation Network. Really excited today. We have a community from North Kansas City who's going to talk about their school district, their system, all the work they've been doing to create an inclusive work-based learning system. I had the honor of visiting them. We were talking about it, was it 1 year, 2 years ago? I don't know. Time feels really weird sometimes, like March is next week. Where did that come from? But just really excited, here, this is an Illinois kind of base learning innovation network for work-based learning, but we really love to hear from other partners in other states and see what they're doing and kind of think about that, what that looks like in Illinois and also what they can learn from us, right? So just really excited to have their community here to learn from and collaborate with. But as we go ahead and get started, as you're coming in the room, would love to know who's here, especially for our North Kansas City partners, your role and where you're from. And if there's any questions top of mind when you think about work-based learning systems, processes, whether that's data, partnership work, how you collect student input, student experience, recruitment of students, right? We could just keep listing some things that go along with work-based learning systems and processes. But if there's something top of mind, please go ahead and put that in the chat. And I know Shannon and Athena can talk to that throughout their presentation. Might already even be covering those points you put in there. But please go ahead and put those there. And just again, little friendly reminders about muting your computer and or your phone. If I mute you at all throughout the presentation, it's not because I don't want you to talk. It's just to avoid that background noise. And there'll be plenty of time for Q&A. Always encourage you all to use the chat. But again, welcome to this iWin session here today. I do this a lot. I forget to introduce myself, and I'm Heather Penzak, Director of Innovation and Implementation with Education System Center. I have lots of questions about work-based learning systems and processes, even working for an organization with systems in the name, right? There's always ways to be thinking about this more intentionally and really thinking about scale and access for all of our young people to have these high-quality experiences. So thank you all for introducing yourself there in the chat and putting in some, do I see questions yet? I see some things about scaling work-based learning. Always very much top of mind for those of us in this space, but welcome today. If you're new to the space of iWin, just a kind of overview here, we are very much a space that's looking at highlighting and exploring those innovative models for work-based learning, right? As we think about scaling and as we think about equitable access, we have to get more and more innovative, more and more intentional. And so really having this space here to share with one another. And that's probably the best part of iWin, is that connections among communities and where you all even hear from each other and have some private chats during the session and afterwards, and even connect with those who share about their best practices, learnings, and resources here. And just a lot of those really engaging in conversations on what is high quality, what is equitable access, how are we thinking about our most vulnerable populations that really would benefit from these opportunities, and not the same students getting the same opportunities that they always do. And then identifying those policy changes, support pieces, and that's why it's always really exciting to have another state come on in to be like, they seem to have something at the state level that maybe we could learn from here within Illinois and advocate for. So, and we do talk about the whole work-based learning continuum. You'll hear about that today from North Kansas City, right? Because this isn't just one experience. This isn't just one thing that a student does, but they really should be moved along this continuum of experiences and moving from having a teacher or another organization really playing a big role to that host, that industry partner, that employer really playing a big role in this. And so really thinking about how students are moved along this and supported to keep discovering themselves and unpacking what it means for that college and career kind of interest areas that they're exploring. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen here and turn to our fabulous presenters from North Kansas City to introduce themselves and take us through their journey.
Mute. Sorry, y'all. Do not let me get you seasick. Sorry. It's not a good way to start out. All right, we'll go to the very top of the slide. Thank you so much, Heather, for having us. I am going to go to the very front of the slide because I confused my teammate here. But thank you so very much for joining us today. We are super excited. We are the North Kansas City School District. We're located in Kansas City, Missouri. We were super excited to win the Super Bowl, but of course, I know that we made national news too. Continue to keep us in your thoughts and different things because we are healing as a city. as we continue to find out more about the recent developments, we are finding out that young people were a part of some of that. But I think that's why it's so important that the work that we do to provide students with a purpose, so they know that there are other things outside of the things that they turn to within their environment. So we are doing very well with what has taken place, but we are very proud to be in Kansas City, Missouri, and be a part of the North Kansas City School District. So we will talk a little bit about developing a system of work-based learning, and I will turn it over to my awesome colleague to introduce herself, and then we'll go right into our presentation.
Well, good morning, everyone. So my name's Athena Graham, and I serve as the Partners and Education Coordinator for North Kansas City School District. My role entails several different components. I actually serve more on the community side of the district, but my biggest role, I would say, is establishing, cultivating, and continually nurturing those relationships with business partners that support our students through the real world learning opportunities that Shannon's going to talk to you a little bit about as well. In addition to my role with Pathways, I also oversee all of our volunteer programming in the district, which includes our community volunteers as well as our senior tax exchange participants. And then Bambi is not on our call, but she is my wonderful administrative assistant, and she does a fantastic job with making sure everything on the back end is up and ready and up to date. And as we go through this today, we'll kind of show you some of those systems that Bambi does a really good job of making sure that we keep up to date.
All right, and then I'm Shannon C. Shelton. There's 2 Shannon Sheltons in my district, so I have a lot of energy. Hopefully you will feel it through the screen. I know sometimes when you're on a Zoom call, like, what are they going to cover? But there's 2 Shannon Sheltons in the district, and my email consists of the C. So the original OG, I call her the original OG. She's a 4th grade teacher at Gracemore. Thank God we both have good names, because we have been mistaken for job interviews as well as things about our children. So she receives everything in regards to my work as well as her work. So happy to be the director of work-based learning, and I work closely with Athena. When our business partners are on board, that's when tier 2, I kind of step in to see who's where, and you're going to see a lot of that today as we go through our presentation. Before we get started, we do want to kind of talk about the 4 key components of a pathway. If you're trying to take notes, please note, I know Heather's going to send out this presentation after the call, and also this recording is taking place as well. But there's 4 key components that we focus on within a pathway. We partner with Connect Ed, who's our consultants, and we look at rigorous academics. That's our scheduling. What does that look like when it comes to the coursework to help lead students to success? We also look at our comprehensive student supports. That's the counseling department, our assistant principals, our high school, college, and career facilitators. We have them all a part of a school of, which you will see those 4 schools of on the next slide. We also have a series of career and technical education. For many years, when I was in school, it was called VOTEC. I know many call it the trades, the different things of that nature. We have not gotten rid of those classes. I know a lot of parents, our community say, hey, what happened to education? You know, everything's like education is not going the way that it should. But this pathway program has really revamped our community, our parents, our students, and we really truly have a focus. And then that 4th component is what you'll hear about today, which is work-based learning. But there's 4 key components of a pathway, and work-based learning is that component that we will tie in today. Just going over real quickly, you'll hear about 3 parts of this call today. The first one, you'll hear a little bit about our district demographics and pathway structure. In part B, this is where Athena will step in and speak about the establishments of partnerships. She oversees all of our partnerships. So she'll speak about the marketing materials that she used to attain business partners, how she used those marketing materials and how to onboard our partners, and how to keep that relationship with those partners that we do have. And then part C is a number of different things, from work-based learning goals, our industry executive council, and then also our tracking systems is what you'll see a little bit later today in part C. So real quickly, just covering part 1, we are the 2nd largest district in the state of Missouri. We're right behind Springfield. We do service over 21,000 students. What we noticed within the district before our pathways, this is our year 3, we noticed that a lot of our students were graduating, but were they prepared for college and career? We may have had 20% of the district, probably about 600 students total, 20% of our district that would go to either Northland Career Center, which is our career vocational school, or they would go to early college, or they would do things that pertains to the next level of success. But then we still had 80% of our students that were still not necessarily aware of what they wanted to do. And that's where our pathways came into work. So we do have 4 high schools, 4 middle schools, 2 6th grade centers, and 22 elementary schools, just in case you're wondering about the numbers. I did see in the chat, there was a question about scaling the work, and that's what we'll talk about, how we scale the work. We have about 16 to 1800, no, 16 to probably about 2200 students in each high school. So we'll talk about the scaling of the work here momentarily. We do partner with 2 great partners. Kaufman is here in the Kansas City metro area. They provide grants to probably about 17 to 18 different school districts in our area. We all do it differently. So Kaufman is a part of our work. You will see how we do our continuum, but every school district is doing some form of real world learning. And then you'll see North Kansas City's today. And then we just didn't want to go about just put it together. I don't know if you've been on teams. I've been on teams. I was a principal, and we'll put some stuff together like, yeah, that looks good. Let's go. And didn't have a plan to really execute what that looks like. So we hired Connect Ed as our consultants to help us build out our pathways. And you will see some of that. You'll see their name on a few of our documents today because they help us structure what that continuum could look like. Also with Connect Ed team, as a consultant, we realized we need to do a needs assessment in our community. And that consists of what skills do students need to have. This is our portrait of a graduate. Many school districts call it the graduate profile, but this is what we share with our business partners as it aligns to what skills do students need to have beyond the classroom setting, in the classroom and beyond. So we know that if students are adaptable, communicate, collaboration, empathy, we know that they will be successful regardless of the college or career. That's what our pathway program is designed to do. Are you prepared, college or career? Do you have the skills to be successful? And Athena will touch on that more about how she used it for marketing purposes. And then not only did Connect Ed help us create that portrait of a graduate that's here, they also help us develop our 4 schools of. We have the School of Business, Leadership, and Entrepreneurship, the School of Design, Innovation, Technology, the School of Health and Wellness, and the School of Public and Human Services. We have all 4 schools of all 4 are at each one of our high schools, excuse me. So North Kansas City High School with the Hornet, they have all 4 pathways. Oak Park High School here, all 4 pathways. The Winnetonka feeder pattern, all 4 pathways, and Staley also has all 4 of the same pathways. That's how we scale it, because we ensure that all high schools, all students have the same opportunities by going through those 4 schools of. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we show that. And then the last thing that Connect Ed help us develop, not only did they help us develop the portrait of a graduate, the 4 schools of to help do some streamline approaches, but also our work-based learning continuum. And these are our action steps to ensure that our students are exposed to college and career. And I will touch more on this in part B or C, I think I'm in C, part C of the presentation. So you can see how we align goals to each grade level to ensure that we are successful. And this is how we also track that data. So I won't go into that now, just because I know it's coming up, but I wanted to give you a quick background of us being the 2nd largest in Missouri, kind of how we structured at the high school, the materials that were created with our consultants to ensure that we're successful along the way. And I am going to turn it over now to Athena that can speak about how we get business partners on board to help the work.
Thank you, Shannon. So to kind of talk to you a little bit about the establishment of business partners, one of the things that we always share with all of the individuals that we have conversations with is ways that you can identify quick wins within your district and establishing those business partners. So to tell you a little bit about the district with business partnerships, business partners have been a part of North Kansas City school districts for over 30 years. They originally were called Partners in Education Business Partners. And so when I took this role in 2015, I oversaw those Partners in Education Business Partners. What we did when we shifted to pathways at the high schools is we utilized that network of over 200 businesses and made the ask with them on if they would be willing to kind of help us and support us in this work as a partner with Pathways. We were able to bring on about 50% of those business partners that not only had supported our schools as a partners in education business partners for 30 plus years, but also now to support kids in real world learning at the Pathways. Now, just in case you're curious as to what a partners in education business partner is, those business partners, generally speaking, are business partners who support our local schools in ways such as providing meals to kids through back snack programs, maybe providing incentives to teachers to help with kids in reading, math, etc. So those partners by no means are going away and supporting our local schools. This was just an additional ask, and it was a really quick win for us to be able to say, hey, we've started this initiative with a blank slate, and this is what our plan is, and we really need some support to make sure our kids have some opportunities. So just have that kind of always in the back of your mind, that if you have current industry partners that you work with and other programming, they most likely will be more than willing to help you in the work that you're going to be doing or are doing with your kids through real world learning opportunities and work-based learning. Shane, you want to go next one? So I want to share a little bit of our marketing materials with you. Shannon kind of went over these a little bit in the very beginning. When I meet with an industry partner, I take a couple things with me during these meetings, whether they be in person or on a virtual setting. Two of those things are what you see here. So the portrait of a graduate and the work-based learning continuum. If you're new to establishing business partners, I always joke, and Shannon will kind of play off of this, that as you're establishing business partners, really for us and for me, before I ever make an ask of them to support our kids and what it is that they're doing, I really want to get to know who they are first, who their company is, what their missions are, what their values are, so that I understand that it's not just about us making an ask, because this is never a one-way partnership, but I also want to try to find ways that we can support what their vision and mission and goals are within their organization. So I always say that I go on these little micro dates every day. And Shannon will tell you that my husband doesn't love that when I say that, but it's really what it is just building relationships. So when we talk about these different things that we're doing in the high schools, what we share with them is the portrait of a graduate and then the work-based learning continuum. Prior to going into the continuum and talking to them about what it is that we're looking for organizations to support our kids with, we do really talk a lot about that portrait of a graduate, because in addition to ensuring that our kids are leaving with market value assets and industry recognized credentials, just as importantly, are ensuring that our kids are leaving with the soft skills that make them employable or make them a candidate for post-secondary or trades or whatever that might be. And that's where those core competencies come in. And it really is amazing. Every time I have these conversations, the person that I'm sitting next to or the group of people always shakes their head. Yes, we are seeing these things as well. We're seeing these as gaps. So that's always a great way to start as well. Now, with the work-based learning continuum, this is what I go through with them and talk to them just about the different requirements of our kids at each grade level. It's really hard to see on this presentation, but we will share these resources with you. I see somebody had asked. We'll share these resources with you so that you can see them in depth a little bit more. Shannon, you want to go to the next slide and I'll kind of talk to them a little bit more about, sorry. Oop, one more, there you go. The other thing that we also found really important as we started doing this work, so we've started this work in 2020. What we quickly realized that we needed to be doing was creating marketing material that was much more user-friendly to our industry partners. So again, it's difficult for me to speak because I don't know where everybody's at in this process, but when we originally started, we didn't have a whole lot of materials that we were taking with us. one of the things that we were able to do as time went on was create these marketing materials. And I noticed that if there was a way to have the industry partners give us the opportunity to share with them a link directly while we were sitting there with them, it was much more feasible for us to get them to be able to partner with us versus having to continually circle back to these industry partners. So when I say that, when you're looking at this black marketing material on the right-hand side, this is also a huge suggestion I would give you. This is just almost like a 4x4 card that I take 2 of those with me every time that I meet with an industry partner. What I ask them to do after the meeting is I ask them to keep one and hang it up in their organization to show that they partner with our district. But I also ask them to take the other one and share it with someone who they may have been sitting there thinking of that might be interested in becoming a partner and supporting our kids through pathways. This has been a extremely beneficial win for us because we always have individuals who, when we sit there, they say, oh, so-and-so in XYZ organization would love this. How do I get this information to them? When they scan that QR code, it asks them for 3 simple things: their organization, their name, and then their email. And so what that does with that QR code is that sends me an email where I have the ability to reach back out to them and then start those conversations. Shannon, you want to jump back to our slide? Thank you. And I'm looking in the chat if anybody has any questions.
No, I got the chat. You can go ahead. I got the chat.
Okay,
Sabrina.
perfect. So the other thing, regardless of if I meet with them in person or online, what I do following the visit is I will send them all of this electronically so that they have that and they can share all of this with maybe people in senior leadership, other organizations, etc. Shane, want to jump on and I'll kind of talk about the next thing. So we get the question a lot of how do we find partners to add? It's kind of shifted and morphed over the years. At first, we did a lot of networking. Now, it was very difficult to do networking in 2020. If you remember, we had this little thing called COVID that we kind of had to get around. So what I did initially was really just try to network within my networks and our networks of business partners. As things started to open up a little bit more, we then started to be able to get back to chamber luncheons, Northland Business Alliance luncheons, Coffee Connects, all of the different things. We do use quite a bit of social media as well to share the things that we're doing and to get the attention of industry partners. One of the other things that I will tell you that has been very beneficial to us is as Shannon has had the events that take place in our high schools with the work-based learning experiences, she opens those enrollments to anybody and everybody. So you do not have to be a current partner to help with mock interviews. You do not have to be a current partner to help with the game of life. What we do after that is Shannon keeps track of everyone who's in attendance of those events. About a month after that event, what I do then is I go through that list to determine who are not partners, and I reach out to them to see if they would be interested in supporting our students through pathways as an industry partner. That has been something that has been extremely beneficial for us and establishing partnerships. The other piece that has been beneficial that Shannon will also share more about is that we utilize our IEC, so our Industry Executive Council, and our Pathway Advisory Boards to help support the networking of ensuring that we have enough people for these events, but also in establishing partnerships. Shannon, you want to go on? So we just kind of like to share some of the do's and don'ts of adding partners. So when we first started this in 2020, we were just kind of given the guidance, and by we, I mean I was just kind of given the guidance of take it and run. So I originally had started with a Google Doc in establishing partners. While it was great to get us off the ground and running, it wasn't going to be something that was attainable. Additionally, we had an organization that we had started with that was called Seamless. Seamless is wonderful. It just was not able to do the things that we needed it to do in order to track all of the activities and the businesses and the work-based learning experiences. So as we've kind of moved on with this, what we have found as a very beneficial thing is Shannon was actually able to work with our technology department. And this link is what we send our business partners on how they would like to select and choose the ways in which they would like to partner. This is built into PowerSchool. Everything that they select within this form, once they've submitted this, what happens is it gets kicked back to us and it is housed in our work-based learning database within PowerSchool, which Shannon's showing you here. What will happen, and what I always share with the businesses, is that the beautiful thing about the form is that it does not obligate them to doing anything. What it does is it puts them into our database that Shannon's showing you right now, so that when Shannon or our director of pathways or one of our college and career facilitators go in and they run a query for business leadership, entrepreneurship, guest speakers, what will happen is anyone who selected those two options are going to come up in that query. Shannon, Christy, or the facilitators will then run through those and they'll look to see what meets kind of the criteria of what it is that they're looking for. What will happen then is any of those ladies will reach out to those businesses at least 3 weeks in advance with whatever the ask is going to be. So it really does make it so that it doesn't put a lot of pressure on that industry partner to commit right then and there to any type of activity. It puts them into the query of a database that then allows us on the backside to communicate better with them on the ways that they wish to partner. We also do it that way because we don't want to over ask and overextend our businesses. And so we do not communicate with them in regard to anything that they do not select within that form. All right, Shannon.
All right, I did pretty good with this. I got like 4 things over here, people. I'm happy y'all are following along. I got like the chat going, then I got that. I see a stop share. So, but yeah, that database. Anything else, the thing that you want me to share on this piece? I was trying to go through because there's also, and as you all work with your teams, we just really went to technology and said, you know what, we can spend a lot of money for something to get us a system to help us track and also house our business partner. But we also wanted to be customized, and that's how we was able to get our tech team developer in our technology department to help us develop this. So not only does Athena or the business partner go in and place how they want to partner, they hit submit. Of course, you saw that it was quite a few on our dashboard. We're at 551 last week. I think, well, 2 months ago, I think it was at 400 and something and some change. But if I click on one of these business partners, let's say I want to go to EDC. Give me one. Let me do David Slater. He's good people. He's speaking. Clay County EDC. Athena even has a form in here that she fills out that was shared that can also be a drop down. So you'll see all of her notes. And she does that as a tracking mechanism to make sure, hey, have they reached out? Did they follow up? So she used this on the back end, but then we also scan it into the system so that each one can know those notes. So that note page was a huge win for us, but we moved away from the paper and created that electronic copy to ensure that we take out those additional steps. There was a lot of steps in there that we had to give it to Miss Bambi. Once Miss Bambi put it in, take this away. We want things to be seamless, and hopefully you all can see that within that piece there of our onboarding of business partners.
Shannon, can I add real quick too? The meeting notes page is very important. If you are in somewhat of a role of making sure that businesses are becoming and establishing that partnership, that meeting notes page is the way that I track when they have submitted the form or not. So what I do is I keep a folder, I know old school paper, but I keep a folder. And if I haven't heard from them within 3 weeks, what I do is I reach back out, just checking in with them, making sure they don't have any questions. And then the same thing holds true. So I actually will touch base with them about 3 times before I honestly, I kind of move on after that, because that shows me that, yeah, they like what we're doing, but it's probably not a good fit for them. So I would say that is beneficial just for a tracking mechanism to make sure that you don't have the meeting and then forget that you met with them.
And you need a Athena. If you are trying to recruit business partners, you need an Athena, because she's the one onboarding all partners, regardless of who's out in the district, parents, your teachers, your principals, whoever's out in the district. We send all of our contacts, business cards. I sent her 3 yesterday from a luncheon. She reaches out and do that initial follow-up of like, hey, you should join our partnership, and this is why. And that's where she shows those marketing materials, like here's our portrait of a graduate and our work-based learning continuum. And I'm gonna go more into the work-based learning continuum. But she meets with them, their meeting notes, they fill out the link, and that's how they become our partners. And that's why we're over 500 plus within our system for a district of our size. And I know scaling the work, we're gonna talk a little bit about as well. And then this piece too, one thing too that Athena and Bambi does, once they join as a partner, because we want to recognize partners, we have them, Bambi adds them directly to our district page. So you'll see all of our business partners. And when Heather shares this PowerPoint, you can click on all these links and they will work. The only link that will not work will be that Power School link, because I am going to unlock that one because it's our student system. It's our student information system for confidentiality. But what you will see, those links will take you to all of our business leadership and entrepreneurship business partners. I think you want to add anything on this piece here while I kind of just share?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, so this is just a great way as well, because again, a partnership is not just a one-way street. It's not just about how they can support our kids and the experiences, but also ways that we can give back to them. So while we're not necessarily advertising for them per se, one of the things that we do tell them is that they will be listed on our website, and we give them the opportunity to tell us what link they want. So some of our organizations actually link directly to like their career page. So it's just another small way to give back to them that shows their recognition for what it is that they do with us as a partner.
And then this is helpful too to our teachers, because we don't necessarily give teachers, the facilitator of each high school is the holder of the contacts. But teachers may say, are we partners with so-and-so and so-and-so? And this is where they can go to see in health and wellness. You do have some partners, or we do have some partners that are in all 4 schools of, and we have some that are in 2 of the 4, some that are in 1 of the 4. So you may see names as duplicates, but that's because they support all 4 pathways or all 4 schools of as well. So you will see that if you click on that link. And like I said, this will be shared with you. I can put one in the chat so you all can kind of see what that looks like. But a lot of our things are going to be tied to our district page, and that will be shared accordingly. All right, anything else on there, Athena? I think our numbers went up from that day. All right, so once again, Athena talked about possible partners who you already have, those early wins if you're just now starting out. Even starting with your parents, seeing who can partner with you, and start where you are. Do not try to, it's a big mountain, a huge thing, but we take it step by step. Organization is key. Athena is very organized and have everything down to a T. So when I came on, I'm a new position. A lot of this was already established because of the work that Athena has done. And then we were just able to transition everything over kind of electronically based, but the work was already going forth for 2 years prior to my new position as a work-based learning director. And then of course, the Google document, I know Athena spoke about it not necessarily, working as much. It was double work. So any system that you can process or systematically put into place is really good, and we learn from that. This next part, if you do have additional questions, we just ask you put them in the chat as we continue on, because we want to make sure we have enough time for questions at the end as well. But just looking ahead, some things that we're going to look at in part C. So you looked at how our district is set up, 21,000 students, second largest in Kansas City. Go Chiefs. The next part, Athena talked about how she establishes business partner relationship. And you saw our system of where that information is housed. We have 500 plus partners. Now, with that, that sounds great, but not all those partners necessarily signed up for the things that you need. So we have 500 plus partners, but we may have 200 that said, I want to do an internship. Or we may have, I don't know, 25 that said, I want to do a client connected project. So we're able to run that query inside of our system to see who signs up for what, because one thing we do tell partners, do not overtax yourself, but do not limit yourself. Also, whatever you sign up for is what you get contacted about. So if you don't sign up for it, you won't hear about it. So part C is a lot of where I do a lot of the district logistics to ensure that we streamline and not overtaxing those partners. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the work-based learning goals because we had to have action steps and plan. I'm gonna talk about the industry executive council and pathway advisory boards who help us to recruit our business partners. Because I don't know an engineer, I do not know a doctor, I barely know a nurse because I barely want to go to the doctor myself. So those individuals I don't necessarily have contacts with, but our business partners, our boards, they do. And then also we're going to see a little bit about the requesting and tracking system. We're going to show you a ping pong table of how our flow chart worked. We should have did this a different way. So hopefully we're able to help you before you, Athena has a book. She's going to have to put it in the chat, like all the things you should have did before we done it and didn't know it or something. But it's really cool because we learned a lot by mistakes. But it's good. We're happy to share that with you. And then of course, we're going to talk about those celebrations and considerations as well. So the work-based learning continuum, that was that third document that Connect Ed helped us develop. You see their names here. These are our action steps. What happened? Our industry executive council, which is our business partners, we have about 30 that sits on that board. And that's mayors, our CEOs, presidents, economic development councils, you name it, superintendent, deputy superintendent, Athena, myself, our directors sit on that board. That board said, you know what, it's great to have that portrait of a graduate that you all saw about adaptability, communication, but what are the action steps to ensure that we're getting students in settings that they can collaborate or they can show integrity? Well, that's where these goals come in place. What you'll see on this work-based learning continuum, that asterisk, those are the grade level goals, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. You'll see asterisk. So I'll go to the next slide so you can see that. What I'm showing now is our first year goals. This has changed because we met our goals and they continue to increase. And then also some of the goals we realized were not really great goals to have, so we had to modify. So the very first year, 2 years ago, and then our continued goals I want to share. So this link, I am also going to share this in the chat with you. And then also you will get this in a message after our call. But you'll see what I just shared with you. Our current goals for this year. So you'll see the first year's goals that we met, the 2022 and 2023-24, which is this school year. But based on that work-based learning continuum, if I go back there, 9th grade, the goal is for 100% of our freshmen to hear from 2 guest speakers per semester based upon those 4 schools of. So those 4 schools of BLE, DIT, Health and Wellness, and Human and Public is to hear from 4 speakers total by the time they graduate, by the time they finish 9th grade, excuse me. So for example, we brought in a medical examiner. I didn't even know how to find a medical examiner. I called the fire department. They said, call the police department. And the chief of police like, you want a dead body. I said, no, I do not want dead bodies. And he was like, yes, you do, Shannon, a medical examiner. I was like, oh, but I mean, it just shocked me because I knew what a medical examiner does, but I wasn't looking for dead bodies on a call. So it kind of shocked me. But what was even more interesting on our call was the chief of police was like, Shannon, you know what? That's a great question because I work with her every day. I don't know what degree she has because the coroner is appointed, whereas the medical examiner, it is a degree. So he's like, I don't know what she has. So we was able to bring in that medical examiner to speak with students in health and wellness, and it helped them to understand the path to take and save time and money before they go off to college or a career program, paying for and not realizing what they truly want to do. The students loved it. I cannot stand blood. I can give you a Scooby-Doo Band-Aid and maybe Pikachu now because we on Pokemon this month. So other than that, don't call me because I won't be able to save your life. But students loved it. So health and wellness. Another example, design, innovation, technology. We had a speaker that Zoomed in with our DIT team. He actually is the props master with Tom Cruise. He did Pirates of the Caribbean. He knows the assistant principal over at Winnetonka. And he zoomed in, talking about how Tom Cruise was a baby because he created this little glove in one of those movies to like catch a wall. I can't remember what movie. And he said he was bringing a baby. I made it out of like tires. It was so cool to hear from him because he was that design innovation technology student. And he zoomed in with those students I think that very first year that we started Pathways, and it was just very cool to hear him speak. So that's just examples. That was our guest speaker. That's 9th grade exposure. 10th grade, there's 2 goals. Every student writes a resume in ELA, and then they take that resume to a mock interview. So with the mock interview, we just had that December 6th, and we just had over 1,500 students go through mock interviews. Someone said, how do you scale the work for that many students? Well, we have it at all 4 high schools simultaneously. This is where we go in the system. We say, who signed up to be a mock interview? That's where we go in here. Who signed up to be a mock interview? We just run a query, I guess we could say. And we say, all right, let's find mock interviewers. Who signed up? And you just kind of run down. Well, I don't need all that. I need this one. I go down here, I find mock interviewers, and I select it, and I'm able to run an Excel sheet. We have 378 individuals that are in here now. We send that email of a registration form to get them signed up for the mock interviews. And of course, you can see that data that's on that link that I shared regarding our goals. And each year we continue to increase that goal because we've shown increase. We do house our resumes in a system called School Links. That system, we could talk about that more offline, but that system does house our resume writing, so we can ensure that students are writing their resumes in ELA too, and we provide those supports to those teachers. Real quickly, the 11th grade year, the goal is we started off with just job shadowings and client-connected projects, but this is where we realized we were not good at what we was doing that very first year. We were not good. I would just get buses. Babies, get on this bus. Call your mama. Can you go? Go, go, go. Get on the bus. Call your mama. Yeah, she said yes, go. They didn't know where they was going. We didn't have a chaperone. We short staffed. Do y'all have sub issues out there? I can't see anybody because everybody's cameras off. But do y'all have sub issues out there? I know y'all do. So with that, like, these babies just get on the bus and lost. And they're like, look, this crazy lady told me to get on the bus and she happy, but we don't know what we're doing. Well, that wasn't working. And that's where we create a mentorship program. You'll see that in my notes here. That mentorship program, now they meet once a month. I actually got this from Liz Rush in Claremont. They meet once a month with a career mentor. That mentor meets with only 3 to 4 juniors. And then in March, they take those students out on job shadowing experience. So from October to May is when they meet. But 1 hour a month, they're talking about goal setting. Another month, they're talking about resume writing. Another month, what action steps do I take for this, or club? And then in March, they go out on job shadowing experience. It could be an hour, 2 hours, full day, whatever the mentor sets up for their mentees. That's when they go out. And it's a lot better than students get on the bus doing 2 hours, because by the time they open up, it was over. And then lastly, just moving a little bit quick, we have client connected projects. This is where we ask those business partners, what's that 19th item on your list? And then with that 19th item on their list, we have students work with their teacher to ensure there's nothing due in 2 weeks, nothing due in 2 months, but something that can take place over a semester. And in that senior year, internships, early college, Northland Career Center, Northland CAPS, apprenticeships, on-the-job training, you name it, anything that just fits into that senior schedule is awesome. That QR code takes the business partner back to that link that we talked about earlier, which is here. We use this as a marketing material. If you want to sign up as a partner, this is how you're able to do so. Continue with this. You saw my goals. I'm gonna kind of go through this pretty quickly. This was last year's board member. I had pictures to show for a visual, but our industry executive council and our pathway boards, they help us go out and recruit what's taking place. We make things turnkey at our meetings, so they're able to take a flyer and recruit for mock interviews. They're able to take a flyer and recruit for our student leadership summit that's coming up. So we use them to really do our work. We have anywhere from about 7 to 12 individuals on our pathway boards. They meet monthly, as you can see at the bottom here. And our industry executive council has about 30. They meet every other month. So whatever our pathway boards are not able to, or they need help with or support, that's when they take it to the industry executive council. Our chairs of our board, our chairs of our pathway boards is who attend the industry executive council to do a report out. Like, this is going great, or this is where we need help, and this is where we get the help with mock interviews, 100 speakers needed for a career series. That's how we continue to scale the work, because we do things simultaneously at each high school on the same day with a maximum number of partners. Sometimes we don't get partners, we reach out to parents, and they have careers, and they're able to come and help support a lot of the work. This is another piece here. I can share this. I may have to get the link for this, Heather. But this is where we use Connect Ed, our consultants. They helped us kind of get our language. We did a Pathway Advisory Board manual. I will share that with you all as well, but just give the details about what a role consists of. who we're looking for as chair members, what's the commitment, because that's one of the questions that comes up a lot with business partner, what's my commitment to this work? And that's what this consists of when it comes to our pathway boards and our industry executive council. And then, of course, this tier I can share too. This is just a one-pager we got from Porterville. That's why I put in the chat, big bar and steel. Take what you need, because we did it. And we just made it blue and orange. If you go to Canva, the color is 26333B for orange. And then I think for the Navy, it was like 00263661. So get it, go to Canva and make it your own school colors, and it's your thing. So this is what we gave the business partners to make sure they understood their role as a chair member when it came together, and we meet monthly. And this is just another timeline of kind of our meetings and our structure, what their role consists of. I can share this as well because I know we needed marketing materials to recruit, would you sit on our board? And this is where now we're established. So now each one bring one. So if one is coming off, we ask for that new partner to bring on someone else or have a recommendation for us to reach out the next month. These are a few quick highlights. I'm gonna go through this. I'm not gonna go through last year and this year, but we did have some increase. Because of time, I want to make sure we have time for questions. But we do see an increase. This is the very first year. We did not do everything correctly. So the thing is, start. I remember kind of sitting in my office. I think that very first time I may have had 8 students going to job shadow. I had 47 signed up. I was defeated. I was like, where these kids go? Didn't they come to school today? Well, one thing that the executive director at that time, he's now superintendent, he said, well, you know what, Shannon? You had 8 more people than what you had last year, because it was our first time. We never had it. And that gave me a new perspective. I'm like, you know what? You doggone right we did. So it just kept us continue like, let's push the things. And we were okay with pivoting. We had to change some things. And we're going to show you a challenge slide with some of those key factors there. But as you can see, that very first year, we just kept trying to get better. We had guest speakers, had 111 guest speakers. By the 100 total, 111, 97 by the pathway. The mock interviews, we did it simultaneously at each campus, had over 200 partners to volunteer, and we had to go from 8:30 to like 11, and we gave the questions to the partners. We were able to have 1,070 students go through mock interviews. Job shadows, we ended up having 238 students total, 290 experiences, but 238 because some went twice. But it still was just not as smooth as a system. And then you can kind of see our capstone experience for seniors. What you see the next year, you saw increases. We just continue to get better. You see that circle, the green circle, which was the square. We stopped doing job shadows the way we did, and we implemented the mentorship program because we realized it wasn't working the way that it needed to, just all over. It was really draining the system. And you have to be okay with making those pivots and what's needed. And each pivot looks different. Like it just looks differently. Depends on the what you're building in your system. And of course, you see those numbers increase. But then also, one thing that we're trying to focus on too, we're not only trying to build now 9th through 12th grade experiences, but we realize we need to start including middle school experiences. And then eventually, and I'll talk about it at the end, we're trying to build a pre-K through adult education continuum. So by this time next year, if Heather have us come back, we'll have a pre-K through adult education continuum that'll take place. But you'll see the first year, we got our numbers. Also, we're not fully pathway because we start with the class of 2025. So that's just our 9th, 10th, and 11th current juniors. Our seniors are still not pathway. However, we still provided opportunities. It became optional for those seniors, but whereas everyone else it was required. Like, okay, you're going to hear the guest speakers. You're going to go to mock interviews. You're going to write a resume. The seniors, it wasn't required, but we still offered those opportunities. Internships is coming up now. So we're still in 2 systems, to be honest, until next year, the class of 2025. But you'll see over in my bottom right, possibly your left, we added some 6th grade, 7th, and 8th grade experiences. That first year, which was last year when we did that, we had all 6th graders have a career carousel. They heard from 4 speakers, trying to start a little bit earlier, right? 7th grade, you won't see anything there. You want to know why? Does anybody want to know why? Like 7th grade, we're just like, man, 7th grade. But we did some 8th grade. 8th grade, we had like 45 sites, and they took all 1,600, well, at the time, 1,300 8th graders on career tours for an hour and a half. With 7th grade, you see a blank because we didn't have anything. I didn't know what to do with them, and they didn't have anything. But then my direct supervisor charged me this year, you can't leave 7th grade out, Shannon. You can't do something 6th grade, leave 7th grade, and have 8th through 12th. Like it just doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you just got to go. The buses wasn't running that day. However, what we ended up doing, we came back as a team, and this is our work-based learning report. And I share this in the screen. I like to share success like this because I'm going to show you how we started. Because sometimes this can become overwhelming. Like, oh my God, they did all that. It didn't look like that at first at all. So I'll put this in the chat as well. But this is our work-based learning report from last semester, October, November, and December. We were able to impact 7,976 students. And that's because we started experience with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade this year, including our 9th grade experiences that you saw on that work-based learning continuum as goals. So we're slowly moving into trying to expand this beyond that high school arena. Like I said, I would share this. I just want to give the highlights because I also want to give you the challenges that we faced as we got started and some things that we did to overcome. So that's that work-based learning continuum report from first semester. We did improve because we used the summer to say, you know what, we have to do something to ensure that we have a continuum and not just hodgepodge of experiences. I skipped that for now. I am going to share the Game of Life recording because I know there was a piece about student voice. This was that goes back to that work-based learning impact report. This was a new idea that came on board because let me tell you what happened. It didn't work. We did that carousel. Let me go back to it real quickly. Here, remember I talked about 6th grade had career speakers? Well, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. 6th graders can't sit that long. And they were squirmy and the teachers were too. And we did it like the last week of school. So it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. But also with the engagement. And that's where we say, you know what? We need to create something that allows students some movement. So we did a game of life experience. This is where we gave students careers and a salary. And they actually had to go around and purchase houses, clothes, shoes. I mean, you name it, they had to buy it, the game of life. And there's a quick highlight video. I just want you to hear the student voice in this experience because this is a part of our work of trying to build out 6th through 12th grade for this year. And then of course, by the end of next year, pre-K through adult ed. Share this.
And with that, the game of life begins.
We're playing this game of life, like where we act like we're in real life blind stuff, so we can know how to do budget.
It's a lesson in financial literacy. Each student receives a lifestyle and career profile, income and debt. Then they're off to buy and budget for expenses like
Discount stuff. Or do you want some more
furniture, food,
table,
utilities, housing, insurance,
want to go on a fishing trip?
fun stuff,
Emergency visit for your puppy. Those are some of the expenses that they can expect during their game of life.
and life's unexpected surprises. It's a hands-on lesson
Things can get expensive quickly.
in real-world experiences.
How to budget and how much to spend and what not to spend.
This event is made possible with the support of numerous community partners and volunteers.
I wish I had something like this when I was a student to get a really good understanding of when you get out there. Oh my goodness, everything costs money. I didn't really realize it.
Many enjoy engaging with students.
It's really going to help them with life decisions on making, do you want to make the right one or do you want to make the wrong one? So just seeing the difference of how they react to both.
And helping them become financially responsible.
Compare credit and debt, figure out and work together to make sure they have enough money to cover their expenses. And if they didn't make some good decisions financially, how can they go and rectify that? All the stuff that they interact with in their home lives, that costs money. And they're going to have to one day pay for all of those things.
This exercise in money management makes an impact on students as well.
It's like the view one, and we're getting stuff like cars and clothes and see what it would be like.
It's an investment in students.
A lot of them are really being smart about their spending habits. So it is awesome. I'll be back next year.
And the future.
Oh, come on. You're going to have some fun.
So we wanted to put that in there, just a quick, like the student highlights. We have several. I can send a mentorship I can send one about mentorship. I can even send this one about our pathway boards and what they enjoy, our business partners speak to. I just know we've been running short on time, but please know that I can share all of these resources with you. If you are a coordinator and you want to get teacher buy-in, start creating those highlights for different things, showing those impact reports, because one thing that my direct supervisor says, results overcomes resistance. And this has been beneficial to show these different things. Because people are like, man, y'all moving that many students? Wow. How can you say we don't want this when you see the benefits of the students and having fun? So teacher buy-in was one of our struggles as we continue to push forth. But this is one way that we continue to show, because some of y'all kind of nodding your head. I feel you behind your screen, you're nodding your head and going, yes, this is really good. That's the same way that our teachers are feeling, and our parents as well. These were some of the sites. I just want to show these real quickly that our 7th graders went out to. Mentorship photos that was taking place with our juniors. Here's our team. Or our college and career facilitators are each high school. They're the ones that get the building requests. I work with them when it comes to the district-wide. Like all 4 schools needed mock interviews. We work together. They do building logistics. I do the recruitment. Athena's on the front end, recruiting partners. Once I see it, registration, they do the building. Part two, you heard from us. We're recruiting and or we are streamlining. And in part 3 is the curriculum and a CTE development team. That's where those courses, those alignments, those projects come into place. So these are our district instructional coordinators and then our district college career director of pathways. And then of course our assistant director of college career readiness. So we all work together to ensure that we have those success. A few other things here. You saw a little bit of the management system. This link will not be live, but I will show the backside real quickly. Whatever you build, what do you need to track? We track based on our goals. So that's how we know what to track. We get that question comment. What do you track? Well, our goals is for every student to go through a mock interview. We're tracking mock interviews. It's for 9th graders here from guest speakers. That's what we're tracking. It's for juniors to have mentorships. That's what we're tracking. So you'll see here, we built this inside of Power School. We are able to see how many students had a guest speaker, how many went through mock interview, and that's 1,005, blah, 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 plus. But also with that, I want to know how many times are we calling on a business partner? Let me go back real quickly. Did we call on Words of Fun too many times? It might be this one. Yes. So they're able to see quickly how many times have we called on those partners, and we don't want to keep calling on the same partners. So think through your system. That's something that we wish we would have had a little bit earlier in the process, but those are things that we built in-house because we're able to customize it instead of paying an annual fee. I would share this link as well. This is just a work-based learning toolkit with all the resources. I actually got an idea from New York. I think it was New York, and I want to say Chicago too, a few pieces, but this provides an opportunity for if anyone need activities or you need a tip sheet, how you request a guest speaker in the building. But also let's say that I'm an employer and I don't know what you want from me. Well, there's a tip sheet on what you need and what you can do. So I will share this link in the chat that you all can go in. Also, you'll see opportunities. There's a shared calendar of all the events. I know October was very, very busy. So if I go back to October, you'll see that every date was full of things that were taking place. But also there's student opportunities page with scholarships, and then also all those things that are coming in regards to summer opportunities, internships, you name it. And then lastly, with that toolkit, these were just some of those challenges that we talked about. That ping pong table was our original flow chart. Look at that. Doesn't that look beautiful? Let me give you a bigger picture because we were over it. We didn't even request a guest speaker. We sat in a meeting for 7 hours, and this is what we came up with. We didn't have a plan. And that's where we say, you know what do we want to build in-house? So if you feel like you're stagnant or you're going through like, what can we do to get better? We all started there. It looks great now because, I'm showing data, 2,000 this, 1,500 that, but it didn't start there. So these are some tips that we said, develop a request and tracking system early on to get going, willing to make adjustments along the way. Avoid just doing check boxes. We were like, what's the goal? Okay, boom, it's done. Let's move on. But it wasn't of quality. And we were looking at quantity, but not the quality of it. Finding the right stakeholders. I did have to release some business partners. We moved some business partners from the Industry Executive Council to pathway boards. We have one that wants to be a chair, Athena, and I know that we probably would not be making her the chair of that one pathway just because we understand logistics that we want the right people, right? Now, she supports, but just in different ways. Smaller numbers on the IEC. We started with 60 people per board. We had over 200 people signed up, and we didn't know who was coming what day. Like, who is Jimmy? Was Jimmy supposed to be at this board meeting? It was too many. We got it down to 7 to 12 for pathway boards, 25, 30 for the IEC. New initiative, I talked about buy-in and struggle, kind of win over your teachers that are probably still struggling a little bit with some of this. Surveying your IEC and PAB members, creating a schedule that works. We do have common plan time across the district, pathway time and content time. Now that's the hard part. Whoever your schedulers are will attest to that. And then we are building that K through 12 continuum. That just started this year. We didn't start that in year 1. This started in year 3 once we realized we needed some more structure. Staff turnover, it happens. Getting systems so tight that when a new person come in, they can pick up where they left off. We don't have that yet. If you wonder, we don't, but we're getting there. And then creating bylaws, written structure, and then follow up and postgraduate data is something that we need to do better of. So that's our committee of our pre-K through adult education committee. Like I said, I can share this. You can see those names there. But you did go through all 3 parts today, and we're coming to an end. There's our contact information because I know we're right at noon. But we will take any questions and kind of go through the chat as well.
This is all wonderful. I saw like different things kind of coming through in the chat here, and I'll just open it up to questions as folks are able to stay on here.
Okay, you built a tracking system. Someone asked, you built a tracking system in Power School. Please tell me how. Yes, we went to our technology department and just talked. And our developer sat there with us and said this, and this. I had to create like a flow chart with our developer because their brains think differently than ours. No, it's not it. But he was able to kind of sit with us and kind of talk with us. And then he said, you need this, you need that. So the developer would be able to bridge your gap of what you're needing. We didn't necessarily know like, oh, we want a blue sticker here and that. It wasn't that. It was like, hey, I need business partners to sign up on a link and it goes to a system and everybody sees it. Hey, I need to track who actually went to the mock interviews and what business partners came. So sitting down with that developer, the developer is going to give you I guess, I don't know what you want to call it, but give you the structure of what it can be built out as. And some of y'all may use Infinite Campus, you may use a different student system. So some of those things are called add-ons. So just working with your developer to see if you can have those add-ons created inside. And you talk to them about money. Say you're going to spend a lot of money for a system because this way you don't spend annually. Like we don't have to pay a charge. I sat down with them and talked through whatever I needed, questions or whatever. And I did how I wanted to flow electronically. And he built that out.